What if everything we thought we knew about rare earths is backwards? What if the West isn't as helpless as we've been led to believe? It started as a footnote in global trade, one product among many. But rare earths evolved into a strategic choke point, spinning invisible threads through everything from fighter jets to consumer tech. If you're holding a smartphone or driving an electric car, chances are you're already caught in a global tug-of-war. A Cold War, not of missiles or sanctions, but of magnets. Because the truth, the performance of an F-35 fighter jet, the torque of a Tesla motor, even the stability of offshore wind turbines, all depend on powerful magnets made from rare earths, most of which come from one place: China. But here's the bigger question. Are we witnessing the beginning of a rare earth endgame, or is China's dominance already too deeply entrenched to fracture? The Western world isn't watching idly. Instead, it's now counterattacking on three game-changing fronts. But which force, if any, can rewrite the rules? So here's our challenge to you. Can innovation, strategy, and resilience outmatch monopoly and momentum? Yes or no? Let us know in the comments, because this isn't just about minerals. It's about who shapes the future of global industry. And by the end of this episode, you'll see why this overlooked battle could determine the economic balance of power for decades to come. Welcome to Epoch Report. Let's get into it. It might not feel like it, but we've all been drafted into this. That smartphone in your hand, that electric vehicle in your driveway, they depend on magnets built on rare earth elements like neodymium and dysprosium. These aren't just any materials. They're the backbone of modern tech. Rare earths are what allow motors to run faster, batteries to last longer, and aircraft to remain lighter and more efficient. And right now, most of these materials come from a single, highly integrated industrial system: China. Over the past 2 decades, China has built not just the world's largest rare earth mining industry, but also the refineries, factories, and engineering pipelines to dominate the entire chain. This isn't accidental. It's a planned advantage, a strategy that leaves the West dependent at critical stress points. But here's what most don't realize. The West isn't standing still. They've quietly assembled 3 response strategies: the mad scientists, the modern builders, and the urban miners. Let's break each down. The first strategy comes from what we call the mad scientists, visionaries with a radical proposition. If you uncompete with China over rare earths, remove them from the equation entirely. Forget neodymium, forget terbium, and dysprosium. What if we could invent entirely new magnetic materials that don't rely on any rare earths at all? That's exactly the direction researchers in Japan and the US are taking. In Japan, their breakthrough began with a moment of crisis. In 2010, during a major diplomatic standoff over disputed territory, China suddenly halted rare earth exports to Japan. Instantly, more than 90% of Japan's rare earths disappeared, cutting off lifelines to tech giants like Toyota and Honda. That moment was a national wake-up call. Tokyo responded quickly. The country initiated a top-down industrial transformation with a single urgent goal: remove Chinese rare earths from the supply chain. Japan's first weapon, a technology called grain boundary diffusion. Picture a chocolate wafer cookie. In the past, you had to dip the entire thing in chocolate to get the taste. Now, imagine injecting chocolate only into the thin cracks between layers, using far less chocolate, but getting the same flavor. In this analogy, the chocolate is heavy rare earths. This precision method cut costs dramatically, preserving performance while reducing dependency. But Japan wasn't done. In 2016, Honda unveiled the world's first high-performance electric motor using magnets entirely free of heavy rare earths. These magnets, developed using a method called hot deformation, mimic the tight formation of a Roman legion. Nanoparticles within the magnet align like soldiers' shoulder, forming a natural defense against high heat. Without needing rare earth bodyguards like dysprosium, then came another ace: samarium minor nitrogen magnets. Unlike neodymium-based magnets, which need protective doping just to handle heat, these magnets are inherently hitch-resistant. And they've already been commercialized by Japanese firms like Proterial, formerly Hitachi Metals. In 10 years, Japan built a blood path out of dependency, not with slogans, but with science, strategy, and state support. Now compare Japan's multi-layered chessboard to the American approach, something closer to a poker table. The United States isn't trying to reduce rare earth usage, it's attempting to erase it, their bet, total disruption. At the center of this bet is a material called iron nitride. Unlike rare earths, it's made from just two elements, iron and nitrogen, two of the most abundant substances on Earth, if commercialized. This could shift the global balance overnight. The development is led by a company named Niron Magnetics, founded on research from University of Minnesota physicist Jianping Wang. His team spent 2 decades in virtual obscurity, grinding away at this breakthrough, until the US-China trade war in 2018 turned the spotlight onto rare earths. Suddenly, Washington took notice. The Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, and major corporate players like GM and Volvo, they all lined up behind this vision. In January 2024, Niron received over $2.5 million to begin building its first manufacturing facility in Minnesota, aiming to go live by 2026 or 2027. But there are still significant hurdles. Scaling lab tech into commercial products is never easy, and failure remains a very real possibility. Meanwhile, America's national labs are backing a second material, manganese bismuth magnets. These defy physics in a fascinating way. Most magnets weaken with heat, but manganese bismuth becomes stronger. It's like the Hulk of magnets. The hotter it gets, the tougher it becomes. Both the iron nitride and manganese bismuth magnets offer bold hope, but let's be crystal clear, these are higher-risk dreams. Manufacturing scale and durability are still works in progress. And even if American firms succeed, there's no guarantee they can outpace China. Especially since the foundational research includes scientists of Chinese origin and teachings that are already circulating globally. If you're still watching, you're clearly not here for surface-level news. Make sure you're subscribed and turn on notifications, because our team at Epoch Report digs deeper into the forces shaping finance, technology, and the world order. Stick with us, and 10 minutes a day can make you feel 10 years ahead. Now let's talk about the second front, what we call the modern builders. Less flashy than the scientists, but just as vital. Their strategy: rewire the entire rare earth supply chain. Without China, this isn't theory. Japan and Australia started doing it back in 2010. Tokyo invested $250 million into Lynas. It's an Australian rare earths company. Today, Lynas mines in Australia, processes materials in Malaysia, and ships the final products to Japan. Around 30% of Japan's current rare earth supply now comes from this chain alone. Inspired by this model, the U.S. Department of Defense has poured hundreds of millions into similar moves, supporting Lynas and MP Materials to build refineries in Texas. Sounds promising, right? Well, here's the problem: bureaucracy. According to U.S. government data, a new mine in America takes 7 to 10 years to move from application to approval. In more complex cases, with environmental lawsuits or local opposition, the timeline has stretched to 20, even 29 years. These timelines crush momentum. And that is why the scientific route, the mad path, is crucial to balance the slower, laborious infrastructure builds. Now, the third front is the most futuristic of them all, what we call the urban miners. Here's the logic. Mining mountain rock gives you 1% rare earth content. But a scrapped electric motor or an old phone's magnet, that content can hit 30%. It's not just more efficient, it's more sustainable. The techniques dominate here. Long loop recycling breaks down magnets to raw elements, pure rare earths that can be reused however industry needs. Short loop recycling is faster and leaner. Factory scraps or clean waste are melted and reshaped directly into new magnets, like turning last night's roast chicken into a shredded chicken sandwich. Both methods are growing. In the US, recycle is leading the way. In Canada, it's cyclic materials. In Europe, we see Salve Ionic Technologies and France's Carister. In Asia, Japan's Proterial is proactively recycling its production waste. But there's a harsh truth. Today, global rare earth recycling contributes just 1 to 2% to total supply. Why? First, the feedstock gap. The thousands of electric vehicles and turbines carrying high-value magnets, they're still too new. They'll only start reaching end of life in 10 to 15 years. Second, disassembly is hard. Magnets are glued in place with adhesives, too strong for machines to pry loose. Human disassembly is slow, expensive, and uneconomical at scale. Recycling will play a critical long-term role. But in the short term, it won't break China's grip. So where does all this leave us? Japan is playing strategic chess, stabilizing industrial vulnerabilities one move at a time. After a decade, they've carved a partial path to independence, but not full escape. The United States is swinging for the fences, betting everything on laboratory revolutions. But scale, cost, and time work against them. The modern builders are reinvesting in supply chains. But the timelines are measured in decades, and the city hunters, they're visionaries. But the recycling wave won't crest until well into the 2030s. In short, China hasn't lost control. Not yet. The West is fighting back, but the road is slow, steep, and uncertain. This war will be measured not in headlines, but in quiet technical endurance. There is one more frontier, one that's extremely controversial: the deep sea. Beneath the Clarion-Clipperton Zone, a plateau 4,000 meters below the Pacific, lie vast fields of polymetallic nodules full of nickel, manganese, and yes, rare earths. Over 20 companies are exploring ways to mine them. But who do the oceans belong to? Every proposal must go through a little-known organization, the International Seabed Authority, under the United Nations. If approved, deep-sea mining could become a new strategic lifeline, or it could open the door to a colossal ecological disaster. Which way it goes depends not just on technology, but on governance, accountability, and global cooperation. So, which path do you believe in most? Are the mad scientists our best shot? Or does the slow and steady route of the modern builders hold more promise? Could recycling eventually tip the balance? Drop your thoughts below. We read every single comment. If this brought you value, don't just like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Timing matters, especially in markets like rare earths where the damage is invisible until it's permanent. And remember, with just 10 minutes a day, you'll start spotting the signals that most people miss until it's too late. This is Epoch Report. Thanks for watching.